Party rock in the house. I'm having a little bit of a rough morning, guys. Could use the party rock. Why is the cord like that, though? Hold on. We'll just pretend that cut didn't happen. Look, it's been like that the whole time. Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome to Momming with Migraine. I know that I don't often do videos that are just about pregnancy, but it's about time that I do. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about how this pregnancy has differed from my previous pregnancy. A lot of things are the same, like being tired and nauseous, but there's definitely different characteristics to my tiredness and nausea, and there are a lot of things that are the same, like needing copious amounts of spicy food. So I made a quick list. We're gonna go through that, and I will try to be very vague on the TMI. All right, well, I'm ready to go. I hope you are too. I have my lemon ginger tea, lemon ginger repeat, story of my life. Have my notes. Let's do the song and get to it. Before we get started with the main video content, I would like to tell you guys something very exciting. This video is sponsored by Luisa Jewelry. I chose this video in particular because the most recent necklace that I chose from Luisa was actually in honor of my kiddos, and I wanted to have something to always have near my heart. Man, that sounds cheesy to say out loud. I don't want to say that out loud. So I picked out this necklace that's called Rebecca. It's got a nice little sun shape on it, and it has little beads going up the necklace. It's a very lightweight and dainty piece, just like all the others that I've been getting from them. And I love that it has a lot of meaning. Oh, why sunshine? Well, when I was a kid, "You Are My Sunshine" was a very common song to be sung in the house. And now I sing it to my baby too. I even have stickers going down the side of my, what's this thing called? My desk. One of the other things that I picked out this time, this was actually a last chance item. This isn't something that's new. I'm really glad that I caught this. It's a jewelry case for all the things that I have been collecting. I haven't filled it yet, but you know I'm gonna. I love the color. You know I'm a Slytherin, and the quality, just like everything else, is fantastic. You may have noticed this new ring. This ring is called Jax. Super simple X, but yo, I feel so edgy in this ring. Now, other than the sun thing, why would I choose Luisa to sponsor a video about being pregnant and having kids? Well, sustainability. I care a lot about sustainability for my children's sake. Also, September is Sustainability Month. I told you in my last shout out to Luisa that they do offset all of their carbon emissions, but they actually offset all of their water emissions too. Water usage. It's not really an emission if it's water, is it? They assess their water footprint, and they have helped restore 2.5 million gallons of water since January of 2021. They are maintaining their goal to continue to try to use more and more recycled materials in their pieces. They also donate the pieces that are returned instead of letting them go to the landfills, and that has saved the equivalent of 14 tons of CO2 and 16,000 gallons of water just by not letting the jewelry go to waste. Excellent company to get behind and to work with. I will put the link in the description below, but the URL is shop.analuisa.com/momming, and you can use my code momming10 to get 10% off your order. Now let's talk about being pregnant. Okay. At 4.5 months postpartum, I found out that I was 1 month pregnant. Wow! How did that happen? I mean, I know how that happened, but how did that happen? This baby was not an accident, but it was a surprise. So I went into this pregnancy not totally feeling healed from the first. For the first pregnancy, I literally trained for it, and that's how I was still single track mountain biking all the way up until 28 weeks. Very carefully, but I was. I was active and exercising and stretching, whereas for this one, I had just come off of bed rest from having a baby. So going into this pregnancy, very different story, very loose everything, and I just kind of felt depleted going into it. Additionally, even though the pregnancies are super close together, a lot changed with my chronic health problems in between the two of them. Specifically, my chronic conditions got worse. I made a video about that. That's probably why I was declining so quickly. I was doing not what my body actually needed. I was doing what was proper based on the wrong diagnosis that I had. Now I'm going through treatment for what I do have. It's been kind of a roller coaster. I'm overall on an upward trend, and I'm going to do my best to kind of weed out the pregnancy symptoms from the chronic illness stuff, but there is going to be some overlap. I'll explain it when we get there. Time to start the list. Second pregnancy, you are more likely to feel tired. I do feel tired. Way more tired. Some of that is my health, but a lot of that is I'm not able to nap because I have a baby, and I'm moving around a lot more because I have a baby, and the baby's always on the move. It's also incredibly difficult for me to pick up the baby that we have because at this point, littler baby is taking up a lot of room and kind of jams stuff, so I can't bend and twist like I usually can, and I can't really hold bigger baby with weight on smaller baby or with weight on my sides sometimes, depending on the baby's position. So it's just been kind of tough taking care of a baby while also being pregnant. I know that's shocking. Nobody will ever tell you that, right? I do think I was unusually tired for the first one too, though, because it takes a lot of energy out of you to be a sick human. And then it especially takes a lot of energy out of you to be a sick human who's also creating a new human. That's two really exhausting things alone, and then I'm doing them together while also watching the baby. It's like, but with the first baby, I was sometimes having some sleep problems. Thankfully, with this baby, and probably a little bit because of the new treatment plan, I'm so utterly exhausted that I'm just sleeping like a rock all the way through the night. I don't even think I move most nights. It's quite rare that I have to get up to pee in the middle of the night. I think for most of my first pregnancy, I was getting up at least once and then by the end twice to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. But with this one, maybe half the time. And half the time, I just sleep like a rock all the way until bigger baby wakes us up. It is also common with a second pregnancy for your bump to show sooner and get bigger sooner. Yeah, you guys know that definitely happened to me. My stomach muscles had already been stretched out before. It had only been a few months since they got stretched out. So my body knew exactly what to do once I got pregnant. It was like, baby bump. I was looking pregnant by like 2 months, maybe 3 months. A lot of that early stuff is bloating, but since my muscles were loose in that way, like super loose in that way, I'm also hypermobile, I really looked pregnant. I was undeniably pregnant by around 4 months. Usually when a woman is around 4 months pregnant, you wouldn't quite yet ask her whether or not she's expecting. But I think I was somewhere between 14 and 16 weeks when our pastor came up after church and asked me, "Are you with child?" Yeah, I am quite with child, sir, thank you. And you know, he wouldn't have asked that if he wasn't pretty freaking sure about it. My belly button also popped like way earlier. Now, I love having a baby bump, so I am super excited to have the baby bump without having all the weight of the usual baby bump. This is actually a very welcome thing for me. I'm into it. The downside is that I also have my pelvic floor situation. I did have second-degree tearing with the delivery of my first. So my pelvic floor ripped open. I'm also hypermobile. I have slow healing. So the weight of this pregnancy, how do I say this without TMI? I started to feel the weight of this pregnancy on my pelvic floor a lot earlier than I did with the previous one. I hadn't started doing pelvic floor physio yet after the postpartum stuff because I took a long time to heal and I was freaking busy with the baby. You guys know that time I was also doing my flat tests and trying to get to the bottom of my diagnosis stuff. Like, pelvic floor stuff was the last thing on my mind until suddenly I had this grapefruit in there again and it started to feel a little bit loose and I was like, we should probably do some tightening now. So now I'm needing to do exercises for that. Even though it feels looser overall, I'm actually holding my pee a lot better. So you take what you can get. After a couple of weeks of doing some very minor exercises, I feel very comfortable now. I'm really glad that part of it was short-lived. And TMI, let's move on. Actually, pretend I'm still sitting over there. I'm getting less of the round ligament pain, also because that was just stretched out. That's the ligaments that go from hip bone to your uterus. These guys. You get the sharp pain here when you're stretching for pregnancy. I'm getting a lot less of that because they were just stretched out really big. With the first baby, that round ligament pain was like awful. This time I've only noticed it maybe twice, and I'm already 22 weeks. Second pregnancy, it's very common for the hormones to hit harder. And man, did they hit harder. Two main ones I want to touch on. One, the ones that make you morning sick, and two, relaxin', the ones that make you loosey-goosey. So morning sickness, way more severe the second time around. With my first, I did have nausea, I did have vomiting in the morning, and then again in the afternoon. And I also started that pregnancy a tiny bit underweight because of my chronic health conditions, mostly because of POTS. With my first pregnancy, by about 13 or 14 weeks, I had already gained over 10 pounds. With this pregnancy, at 18 weeks, I had lost 8 pounds. And this is with trying to gain weight from the point where I realized I was losing weight, which was way earlier. I don't know how many weeks. And that was because I was just emptying. I was not keeping things down. I may have been bordering on HG because it was 4 times a day for many months that I was emptying, like stomach flu emptying. It was awful. But I stuck the course and I kept gaining a couple pounds, losing a couple pounds, gaining a couple, losing a couple. However, the first trimester, it's not too bad if you don't gain a ton of weight. And I did start at a higher weight than I did with the previous pregnancy, so I wasn't like totally freaking out about it. But I would have liked to keep progressing forward. Now, at 22 weeks, I have not only gained back the 8 pounds, but I have gained an additional 5 pounds after that. 4 more pounds after that? I'm kicking ass, guys! There was a distinct turning point when I got my proper diagnosis. Along with all the visual spots and other things that were happening during these flare-ups, I was also getting super increased nausea during the flare-ups. I told you guys that the nausea picked up before I was even pregnant. It continued. It was really after my flat test. I was just screwed with the nausea. Now I know why. Now I know I don't want to do a spoiler for the diagnosis thing, but treating that has gotten rid of the nausea and I just eat like crazy and I've gained like 12 pounds in a month. It's awesome. But yeah, way worse nausea the second time. It could have been the hormones. It could have been my chronic health stuff. I think it was both. Because I was nauseous before I was pregnant, and then it stepped up during pregnancy. Excuse me. Got some ginger on my throat. It stepped up during pregnancy, but then it did have a step down again right at that 18-week point, just like it did in my first pregnancy. Same timing, more severe. Relaxin is the hormone that makes you all loosey-goosey, makes it so you're ready to stretch for growing the baby and eventually for delivering the baby. It's normal to have muscle joint aches and pains when you're pregnant because of this hormone and because of all of the moving around that your body is doing. And I did have that with the first pregnancy. I just had it earlier with the second pregnancy. I think the reason for that is probably twofold. One is that hormone, but the other is that I'm chasing the baby around doing a lot of bending, lifting, twisting that I didn't need to do the first time around. Even though I'm less active like exercise-wise, I'm more active overall probably, just because I'm constantly chasing the baby around. This is a little random and it depends a lot on your doctor and your pregnancy, but I've had less ultrasounds with this pregnancy. First baby, I had an ultrasound at 6 or 6.5 weeks. I don't remember why. I had another one at 9.5 weeks for some scary bleeding that we were going through, and then we had the anatomy scan at 20 weeks. I'll put the video here. For this baby, we didn't do any ultrasounds until the 20-week anatomy scan. I did want to do the anatomy scan to make sure that we caught anything big, but since the pregnancy felt normal, was progressing nicely, we were getting heartbeat checks with just the Doppler, everything went well. I'm still getting all of the other usual prenatal care, the blood tests, the urine tests, the diabetes testing, everything. I was just more hands-off with the ultrasounds this time. And I've actually kind of been more hands-off in general. With the first baby, if there was a quiet moment, I would get to lay down and really feel my tummy and connect with my tummy and feel the baby moving. And now, honestly, I'm just too tired. If I have quiet moments, I'm spending them with my daughter, just cherishing this time that we have alone together. Or I'm spending it with Buddy because now I'm spending so much time with the baby that I really need to spend time with Buddy. I'm taking less pictures because I'm having less of those quiet moments. I'm not doing the belly creams. I'm not doing a journal. It's really just time and fatigue, and I'm so focused on getting to the bottom of my health that is what's getting my priority right now. But I know that it's very common for second pregnancy to just kind of over people's head. It's totally going by faster. There's a lot distracting you. It's not as foreign. So it's just much more back burner than when you're in quarantine and being pregnant is really the only thing that's going on. First baby, first trimester, I was extremely tachycardic, so very high heart rate, with really low drops in blood pressure. Both are normal during the first trimester of pregnancy. Even my book asked if I was experiencing those symptoms. Now, those were mostly due to POTS that was completely uncontrolled back then. That was when I was fainting all over the place. But with this baby, I'm not quite as tachycardic. I haven't been having drops in blood pressure. I barely ever faint. And I think that's because I've learned how to live with POTS now. I know I have my new diagnosis, but the first trimester was well over by the time I got my new diagnosis. I'm still POTSy. It's just a lot chiller. And I think that this all has to do with the changes that happened during my flat test. But once again, that's a story for a different day. With my first pregnancy, I noted in my journal that the physical changes made me feel like, and I quote, a super cool cyborg with hidden talents I've never unlocked. Straight up level up. In case you're wondering what kinds of things I talk about in my journal. But this time around, I don't quite have that naive fascination with being pregnant or with the physical changes because I've experienced them before. I've also just grown and matured a lot in the past year, so it's a deeper, more mature love that I'm feeling. It's like being married versus dating. It's like a deep true love and a deep appreciation rather than a whimsical infatuation. Will that make sense to people? I think it'll make sense to people. Let's go over here and talk about cravings. Last pregnancy, all I wanted to eat was hamburgers, and then I also was all about fries, like separately. Obviously, I ate them together, but like hamburgers, just red meat in general, and then also French fries. This time, I haven't been thinking about French fries. I don't know how. And you'd have to pay me to get me to eat a hamburger. Yeah, you almost need to pay me to get me to cook it. I don't have interest in red meat this time around. I don't know what's up. Something that flip-flopped in the other direction is pickles. I usually like pickles on my sandwiches and burgers, like when I'm not pregnant. Last pregnancy, I developed this super horrible hatred for pickles. I thought they were just the most disgusting thing ever. If my husband opened a jar on the other side of the room, I would start gagging and leave. It was disgusting. Sometimes I would even get through half a sandwich that had pickles on it, and halfway through I'd be like, nope, no more pickles, take them off. This time around though, I'm okay with pickles. It's kind of like I'm not pregnant about them. They're alright. They're just normal. They're how they are when I'm not pregnant. They're just pickles. Can you guys comment below on if you like dill pickles better than bread and butter pickles? Very important. Similarity craving. Halfway point both pregnancies, I suddenly want spicy food. Last pregnancy, it was hot sauce. This pregnancy is salsa. I will go through a jar of salsa in 2 days. No problem. I'm eating so much salsa. And yes, I know that tomato is a trigger, but you don't tell a pregnant lady no. I dare you. Tell a pregnant lady no. See how it goes. It doesn't go well. There were a couple of things that I ran into over and over and over when I was putting together points for this video. And so I wanted to let you guys know that these are things that can happen the second pregnancy or are common to happen the second pregnancy, but have not happened for me. One of those is earlier and stronger Braxton Hicks contractions. I haven't had any yet. I'm only 22 weeks. Honestly, I don't remember when I started having them with my first. I want to say it was even earlier than now. Like mildly, even earlier than now. But jury's still out. They might be stronger and more frequent once I'm bigger. The other thing is that you may be able to feel the baby kick or move sooner. And for a lot of moms, that's because they actually understand what the feeling is going to be like, especially in those earlier months. For me though, that wasn't the case. I didn't feel this baby earlier or sooner. I think the only difference was that I recognized it more concretely than I did the first time around. The first time around, I was like, I think that was the baby, but I'll know for sure later. With this baby, once I started to feel those things, I was able to recognize that they were the baby. But I think they were even a week or two later than when I felt it with my first. Part of that is probably that I'm moving around so much and I'm so distracted. There's a lot on my plate, there's a lot to do. I'm not spending a lot of time like just laying down and napping and being pregnant like I was last year when we were in quarantine and I didn't have a baby yet. Well, that's it, guys. I am an open book, so if you have other questions, things that you were curious about that I missed, please put those questions in the comments down below. For the first half hour or an hour, I'll be down there lurking as much as I can, trying to get to your questions and comments. In the meantime, make sure that you check out Ana Luisa, shop.analuisa.com/momming, and use my code momming10 to pick out some nice jewelry, like this necklace, like these rings. Just a friendly reminder to go click on that link, check them out. We have a lot to celebrate this week, guys. We are at kind of viability week. Right around the 22-week mark is when the very youngest preemie baby has ever survived. So I'm really excited to be entering this viability zone with the baby, and it just feels like the perfect time to be making this video for you guys. Sustainability month, Ana Luisa, got my son necklace, got my new diagnosis, and I'm starting to feel a lot better. It just feels like things are looking up. So I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know if you pick out any good jewelry from the shop. Is that everything? I never know how to end these. Yeah, I guess that's it. All right. Thanks for joining, guys. Bye.